Have you ever just stopped and wondered what the real secret is behind the world's most successful companies? You know, the ones that just consistently deliver amazing products and services. Well, I can tell you, it's not luck, and it's not just having a few geniuses on staff. It's a philosophy. It's a whole mindset that transforms every single part of their business. And today, we're going to dive deep into that philosophy: total quality management.
I mean, really think about it for a second. What's the real difference between a car that runs like a dream for years and one that feels like it's always in the shop? Or what about a company whose customer service actually solves your problem on the first try versus one that just traps you in an endless automated loop? The answer, my friends, is a system. A system that is completely dedicated to excellence.
And that system is total quality management, or TQM for short. Now, at its core, it's a long-term game. This isn't about some quick fix or a flavor of the month business trend. No, it's all about achieving success that lasts by making three things completely non-negotiable. One, making your customer truly happy. Two, always, and I mean always, getting better. And three, making sure every single person, from the top floor to the shop floor, is part of the mission.
Okay, so let's get into it. To really wrap our heads around what TQM is, we've got to look at where it came from. This wasn't some idea that just popped up overnight. Nope. This thing evolved over like 100 years of trial, error, and some pretty brilliant thinking.
So, way back in the day, the idea of quality was super simple. You'd make a bunch of stuff, check it all at the very end, and just toss out the bad ones. Pretty inefficient, right? Then, in the 30s, this guy, Dr. Walter Schuhart, comes along and introduces statistics. This was a game changer because it shifted the focus from just inspecting the final thing to actually managing the process that creates the thing. Fast forward to after World War II, experts like W. Edwards Deming took these ideas over to Japan, and that's what sparked their huge quality revolution. It took a while, but by the 1980s, Western companies, who were getting hammered by competition, finally started to catch on and adopt this powerful philosophy.
Now check this out, because this little detail is actually a huge deal. The Japanese first called their system total quality control. But as the whole idea grew up, it became total quality management. And that one word makes all the difference. See, control sounds like you're just watching over people, right? It's top down. But management, well, that suggests creating a system where people are empowered, where they're trusted to do good work. It's a fundamental shift from just overseeing people to actually enabling them. And this quote from one of the pioneers, W. Edwards Deming, just nails it. You simply can't have real quality if people are scared to speak up, if they're afraid to point out a problem, or suggest a better way of doing things. TQM is literally built on a foundation of psychological safety and trust. It's all about getting rid of that fear.
So, what is this whole philosophy actually standing on? You can think of TQM as being built on four super strong pillars. These are the core beliefs that guide every single decision and every action in a company that truly gets TQM. The first pillar, and honestly the most important one, is customer focus. At the end of the day, the customer is the one who decides what quality even meets. And here's the key part that a lot of people miss. This isn't just about the person who buys your product. It also includes your internal customers. You know, the other people and departments in your own company who rely on your work to be able to do their jobs well. Next up, we have continuous improvement, which you might know by its Japanese name, Kaizen. Now, this isn't about these massive, dramatic changes that disrupt everything. It's the total opposite. It's about a relentless, never-ending search for small, 1% improvements day in and day out. Think about it like practicing an instrument. You don't become a master overnight. It's the small, consistent practice sessions that add up over time to create something amazing.
Our third pillar is total employee involvement. In a true TQM culture, quality isn't just the job of some special quality department down the hall. No way. It is everybody's responsibility. From the CEO in the corner office to the technician on the front line, every single person is empowered and expected to own the quality of their work.
And finally, we have a process-oriented approach. So instead of just checking the final product and kind of hoping for the best, TQM is obsessed with the process. The logic here is really simple but incredibly powerful. If you have a stable, capable process, it will reliably produce a quality result every single time. You fix the process, you fix the results.
So we've got the philosophy, the big ideas, but how do you actually do any of this stuff? Okay, now let's get practical and look at the actual tools that teams use to turn these big ideas into real improvements on the ground. The absolute engine of continuous improvement is something called the PDCA cycle: plan, do, check, act. It's pretty much the scientific method, but for business. You don't just guess and hope. First, you plan by figuring out a problem and its real root cause. Then you do a small-scale test of your solution. Next, you check the data to see if it actually worked. And finally, you act. If it was a success, you make it the new standard. If not, you learn from it and you start the cycle all over again. So, how do you find that root cause we were just talking about? Well, teams use this amazingly simple tool called the 5 whys. Let's just walk through an example. So, imagine a critical machine just stops working. The knee-jerk reaction is to just fix it and get it running again. But a TQM team stops and asks, why? Okay, first, why? The motor overheated. Easy enough. We could just replace the motor, but that's just putting a Band-Aid on the problem. It's a symptom. We have to dig deeper.
So our second why did it overheat? Because there wasn't enough lubrication. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. But why wasn't there enough?
Third why, the scheduled maintenance to add lubrication was missed. See? Now we're moving away from a technical problem and into a process problem. Fourth why was it missed? Because the task never even showed up on the work schedule. And the final, fifth why, the person in charge of making that schedule was never trained on the new maintenance software. Do you see what just happened? We started with a broken motor and we ended up at a training gap. Fixing the training issue prevents this failure, and probably a bunch of others like it, from ever happening again. That's the power of finding the real root cause. But let's be honest, there are always tons of problems to solve. Where do you even begin? That's where something called Pareto analysis comes in. It's all based on the 80-20 rule, the idea that roughly 80% of your problems are caused by just 20% of the causes. This chart here is a perfect example. It shows that just 2 types of equipment are causing a whopping 75% of all the downtime. TQM uses data like this to focus all that precious energy on the vital few problems that'll give you the biggest bang for your buck.
Now, all these tools are fantastic, but they're basically useless without the right environment. So the final and maybe the most important part of TQM is building a culture where quality isn't just a project, it's a daily habit for every single person. And that culture needs a few things that are totally non-negotiable. It has to start at the top, with leaders who are visibly committed. It absolutely demands a blame-free culture, where problems are seen as opportunities to learn, not as a reason to point fingers. It needs constant training, a total reliance on data instead of just opinions, and you have to break down those walls between departments so people can work together. And maybe most of all, it requires patience. This is a marathon, not a sprint.
And to make all this real, TQM turns those big, fuzzy ideas into concrete action by using SMART goals. A vague goal like, let's improve pump maintenance is, well, it's pretty useless. But a SMART goal is totally different. It's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. That kind of clarity is what turns a good intention into an actual workable plan. So when you boil it all down, total quality management is so much more than just a set of tools or procedures. It's a deeply human philosophy. It's built on trust, on empowerment, and on a shared promise to do great work. It's really a mindset that sees every single problem as a chance to learn and get just a little bit better. Which kind of leaves us with one last question for you to think about. What's one small 1% improvement you could make in your own work starting today?